Good morning. How is everybody this morning? Welcome to Atlanta. There we go. Let's have some applause. Good morning. Well, we are thrilled to be back. My name is Michael Moody. I'm with Insight. And first and foremost, welcome. Welcome back to Atlanta. As many of you know, we were here February of 2020. February 28th of 2020, in fact. So a lot has happened since February 28th of 2020, since we left this room and said we'll see you in a year, and here we are a lot of years later. But we're back. We're really happy to have you. And we're excited to get going and get some learning moving and dig into the work. So I thought I would try to quantify what's happened between February 28th, 2020 and now to kind of set the stage for where we're headed today. So we're going to do a little game called By the Numbers. So this is your warm-up activity. I'm going to ask you at your table real quick. -7. This is really recent data. I'll give you a hint. Unfortunately, that's the average decline in math scores on the NAEP that was released last week. Due to COVID primarily, right? This one's an easy one. Right, reading. Okay. See if you can figure this out at your table. -13 versus -5. It's the average decline of black versus white students. We've been talking about the achievement gap since 1966, when the Coleman Report first came out, and they named it actually the achievement gap. So for over 5 decades, we've talked about overcoming the achievement gap, and we know we haven't done it, and in fact, it feels like we may be widening, not tightening. This is why we're here. We're here to see what we can do about this. How do we start to overcome these stats that don't make us feel so good about the work? 2028, the year that they estimate districts might finally recover from instructional time due to COVID. And I emphasize the word might. This is an estimation. 52,000. It's about the number of teachers that left organizations from your all organizations in this room. Right. It's pretty astounding, isn't it? This one's even a little more alarming. That's how many teachers were hired. Right? So when we talk about a national teacher shortage, we start to see where it's coming from because you're feeling it. It's alive. I see some heads nodding. What about this number? Some of you in this room are like, yeah, that's me, right? I get it. There's no judgment in that statement. It's been a long few years. There's never been harder years to teach, to be a school leader, to be a district administrator than the last few years. Everyone's reeling in it. And we've focused so much on students, and rightfully so, but I also want to remind us we need to focus on the adults in the room as well, right? The teachers who have really battled and kind of grappled with it. Yes, let's give the teachers a round of applause. Thank you. What about this? I'm going to give you a minute place value, right? I taught 3rd grade. We had to teach place value. Every time I look at the slide, I got to figure out what this says. This is the earning potential of the students you support. In the trillions. That's not insignificant. These babies in your schools. What about this? The potential lost lifetime earnings of those same students. In the billions with a B. We have our work cut out for us. Those stats really remind us why we're here and why the work has become increasingly important and what we need to do about it. So I'm hoping we can dig in together. It's also important to note the emotional toll. We talk about social emotional learning a lot, but the emotional toll that our students have gone through, you all have gone through in the midst of this. and it's unquantifiable. I wanted to try to find some sort of number to depict it, but I couldn't. Why do you start with the doom and gloom? I did because I think it's important to understand the gravity of our work. I think there's never been a more important time to be an educator in this country or around the world, quite frankly. And we, all of us collectively, have our work cut out for us, but there's so much potential. So much potential in this room, so much potential with the students we support. If you know us at Insight, you know we love Simon Sinek. You know we love to focus on these circles. And the theory behind this is that we focus a lot on what we do and how we do it, but we're not always reminding ourselves why we do the work we do. And Sinek would suggest that it's in understanding your why. Why am I doing this work? What brings me to school each day? What kind of wakes me up in the morning? That's what drives the work. And that's what people need to understand about the work. Because once we know our why, the what and the how have meaning. They have purpose. So I want to share with you my why by the numbers. 20. That's how many students I had in third grade in 1999. I also had a full head of hair, as you can see. But this is where my why started. I was in Oakland, California, third grade teacher. These students had a very significant impact on my life. To this day, they do, and they're in their 30s now, which is frightening. But as we think back, and I think back to my early years in teaching, it was always this group of students who reminded me, you need to be here. This is the age of my son, Zach. Those of you who know me know I can't get away without showing a picture of him, but I do this because he's my why too. So I've really grappled with what is my role in this work. I have someone to remind me every single morning what you need to do, why you need to get up in the morning, why you need to keep doing the work. Before I left, he's like, why do you always leave for work and have to go other places? And so I had to explain to him that my work is not in LA, my work is all over the place. This is him the other night as I was packing. It's hard to tell, but there's a mirror in front of him, and he didn't know I was taking a picture, but he put a fake cape on, and he was trying to find the right superhero pose. He did get it. This should be all of our students. I want every kid we support to feel like a superhero. He doesn't think he can be, he believes he is. And somehow, as we get on in years, that belief starts to dim, and then it's like, I think I can, and then maybe I can. And schools play such a huge role in shaping that narrative for the students we serve. The work you're doing is impactful. The work you're doing will inspire superheroes. So we think about more whys. We think about our work. We had to dig in. Over the last few years, as we reminded ourselves why we're doing the work at Insight, we said, okay, what are we going to do differently? What do we need to do to make sure that our work sticks and is deeply rooted in good practice and really serves the students that we aim to serve? The first thing we did was say, we got to bring back NELW. So here we are. Happy to be here. We're happy you're here. How many of you have been to NELW before? Maybe show of hands. Good, welcome back, but a lot of new faces. That's good, lots of new learning. That means there's lots of new people in the room to learn from. Other exciting news was this, the number 6. Over the last year, we joined forces with 6 other organizations to really start to figure out how do we build a more comprehensive approach to support of the educators that we know and love and serve so deeply. And so we've partnered with iTeach, the Teaching Channel, Learner's Edge, and the Lavinia Group to come together to build an organization, a big organization that can support the entire life cycle of an educator, from before you want to be a teacher through the day you decide you're done. And hopefully it's not too soon, given that last stat. But it's been important to us to kind of continue to figure out how do we increase our impact? How do we really make sure that you, our partners, have everything you need from our organization to do your work most effectively? We used to do a lot of work around like, we'll help you bring teachers in. Now we can actually give them to you because we can certify teachers and bring them into your schools and districts. We've partnering with Teaching Channel to really get access to these great videos for more professional learning, bringing content from Learner's Edge into the fold. Really focused on early literacy with our friends at Lavinia Group and how do we start to build that muscle of more comprehensive support in the work. But we all need to kind of think, how are we going to up our game? How are we going to really move through this work in a way that's impactful? I'm going to let you talk with a partner at this one real quick. 5,276,876. This is the most important number of the day. I heard the answer right here. That's the number of students who are being directly supported by individuals in this room at this very moment in time. Yes, 5 million students. That's 10% of students in K-12 public schools in this country. And that's in this room alone. So every time you think I'm just one person, or we're just a small district, or I want you to remember this number, because you in this room, we in this room collectively, we have an opportunity to impact 10% of the students in this country. That's huge. And this isn't a huge room, but you're all huge people with huge jobs, and this is really important. We can't take our work too lightly. We can't pretend that the work you're doing doesn't matter. We've got to cheerlead when we feel tired. Got to motivate those around us when they need the motivation. We've got to remind ourselves of our why. So what I'd like you to do real quick is figure out your why before we start today. Because this why needs to drive you through the next 2 days. With someone at your table, turn to your partner. What's your why? What gets you up in the morning? Why is this work important to you? Share your why with someone at your table, please. Sorry? Okay, from here? Okay. I hate to cut off your conversation, but I want you to speak it out loud. The more we can articulate, the more we can remind ourselves what's going to get you up in the morning, what's going to drive you into this work, what's going to help you engage for the next 2 days in ways that let you sit in the learner's seat. You know, as educators, we often sit in the teacher's seat, right? We're in front of kids, we're in front of adults, and we're doing our work. For 2 days, you don't have to do that. You can learn. You can sit in that learner's seat. You can really soak it all up. And I promise you, it's not just the sessions you learn from, it's the people sitting at your table right now. We know your work because we watch your work. We get the privilege of sitting side by side with you day in and day out, seeing the amazing thing you're doing with kids. Make sure you learn from each other. In fact, we're introducing a networking activity at the end of this session, which will help you get to know other folks a little better. But don't forget your why. When you're getting tired this afternoon because you have jet lag or you didn't sleep or you couldn't find a hotel last night, which is some people in the room, remind yourself why you're here. What's your challenge? What are you going to commit to doing this time? When I was a young teacher, I would go to conferences. It was mostly, though, because I got a few days off of school, and I knew there were going to be good parties, right? There was always social events. There was always stuff to do. But I didn't always have the best mindset walking in of like, what am I going to walk away with? What am I going to learn when I'm here today? So I'd like to give you a call to action. Don't leave here without learning something new. And not just one thing. There's so much to learn. But make sure you know why you're here. Make sure you understand what you want to get out of the next 2 days, because that's on you, right? If we know what we want to get out of it, you'll be able to find in this room, 100% I guarantee. And if not, come see me. I'm going to find someone who can give you what you need, because they're in this room. I promise you that. I'm looking forward to a really exciting 2 days. And with that, I want to make an introduction of who you really came here to see. But I'm going to start with some by the numbers as well. 20,401 students. That's the number of students supported by Jackson Public Schools today. Our friends from Jackson are in the room. Jackson folks, can you raise your hands? Yes. I'm going to switch it up a little bit and go from numbers to letters. F. This was the state rating of Jackson Public Schools in 2018, not too long ago, when Dr. Eric Green, our keynote, showed up in Jackson to help lead the district through what has been a very challenging few years. There's an educator shortage. If you follow the news, you know Jackson has had yet another water crisis, which is nothing new to the city of Jackson. There was a pandemic. There were no laptops. There were connectivity issues when issues were hit. They hadn't had garbage pickup in a few weeks recently, across the city, but in school buildings. That tells you how many challenges the individuals and the students in this district have tried to overcome in an effort to really improve outcomes for students in Jackson. Let's see. All right, this is the state rating that just came out. This is huge. This is huge for the students in Jackson. They haven't been to C in quite a while. There's a really dedicated team of individuals in Jackson who are really hitting the ground running, working hard day in and day out, coming to conferences like this to continue their own learning. And with that, I want to introduce a guy I've known for a really long time, proud to call him a friend. I feel so fortunate because I think I did something good in my past life, because I have so many really smart, good friends who work in education, and this man is one of them. I have people I learn from day in and day out. This man is one of them too. I met Eric Green when he was an assistant principal in Washington, D.C. about 20 years ago. And we've worked together off and on over the years, always followed the work, but I've always admired the leadership skills he brings to the table, and I've deeply admired the work that he's doing in Jackson, because we were in Jackson before Eric was there and saw firsthand the work opportunity, I'll say, that was in front of the district. So bring him up and let him tell you about their work, tell you about himself. Ladies and gentlemen, Dr. Eric Green.
Good morning. Come on now, wake up. Good morning. Y'all all right? All right, I don't have on my glasses, and there's a big old floodlight in my face, so I can't see everybody out here. So I'm going to trust that y'all are being your best selves and behaving this morning. I am Eric Green. I'm excited to have some time with you this morning and to talk a little bit about our work in Jackson Public Schools, and specifically how we have endeavored to lead through the transformation. We're still in a transformation state. We're still in this process of getting our heads around the work and understanding how to engage our young people, how to engage our team members, how to engage the community to make the what lots of people believed impossible, certainly improbable, possible, and actually bring it to life. I'm going to tell you a little bit about myself. I'm told you're supposed to do this when you do these keynotes, and so, here you go. All right, I started my teaching experience in Baltimore City Public Schools. I taught, come on, Baltimore, be more. I taught 5th through 8th grade, mainly social studies in Baltimore. I was a school leader in D.C., actually a charter school in D.C., and then I went and joined the D.C. Public Schools team as an instructional superintendent, supporting school leaders in their work in mainly elementary schools. I had a brief stint in Detroit. Detroit? Come on, Detroit. All my people are here. Or one of my people are here. Brief time in Detroit. Spent some time in Tulsa. No? Oh, okay. All right. Brief time in Tulsa as the chief of schools there, continuing to learn, continuing to lead, continuing to get my head around how we do, again, what so many believe is just impossible. And that was before landing in Jackson. I joined the team in Jackson, Mississippi, in October of 2018. So I just made 4 years. And I will tell you, these 4 years... These 4 years have seemed like days and eternities all in one. And I imagine others of you have had similar experiences, but I'm super, super proud to be leading the team there and working with the team and the community there. In terms of education, I am a Howard Bison, undergrad and grad. Wait, come on, one more time. HU? You don't know? You know? Jesus. Just when I thought I had y'all switched up on me. All right. And then lastly, University of Pennsylvania, where I did my doctoral program. So you know a little bit about me, and you can probably assume that through all of this, I've probably had some experiences that are worth talking about, and not all wins. Can we celebrate the not all wins? Not all wins, but certainly lessons. And lessons that we'll carry forward. You all talked about your why a few minutes ago. I want to share mine. I was sharing with Jason, I've had some great learning experiences, some great, wonderful experiences as a young person and really throughout life. And so much of it wrapped around relationships. But I will tell you, I've also had some not so great experiences in school. And so for me, the young people that we serve, ensuring that they have amazing experiences with people who love them, and it's not a secret that we love them. You know, that don't smile, what is it, don't smile until December? Yo, I get it, and that's some foolishness. Please smile at me. Please smile at me. Anyway, so young people that we serve, that's the why. Ensuring that they have some experiences that rock their worlds, that are affirming to them, and let them know that they can do big, big things in their lives. And I mean that, really big things in their lives. I'm looking for the next soup. I'm training them. Who's going to take this role? Who's next at bat? That's my why. It means a lot to me. All right, so I want to talk to you a little bit about the context in Jackson. Before I share some stats here, I've got some numbers too, Mike. We good? All right, you proud of me? All right. Before I share a few of the stats, I do want to say this. Baltimore, Jesus, identity crisis. Jackson, that's where I live now. Jackson is the city with soul. Y'all know that, right? It's the city with soul. Soul, the soul food. Soul, the richness of and history in the culture. Soul, there's a lot of spiritual kind of grounding in Jackson. There's so much that is great about Jackson. And as you've heard, as you probably know, and as I'll share here, there are some real challenges in Jackson. And these are challenges that show up so consistently in the work that we do as educators. It is the state capital, and it is the largest urban center in the state, about 150, somewhere shy of 150,000 residents. About 82% African American, about 16% white, about 1.4 Latinx, Native American, we've got Asian, and Pacific Islander, that community, small community in Jackson. Also want to share that about 84% of our Jacksonians, of our residents, were born and raised in Jackson. And so as you think about change and as you think about some of the challenges that exist and what folks have learned to live through in Jackson, this number really struck me. Also, home ownership in Jackson. just shy of 50% own homes in Jackson. Average earnings, about $29,000. Average or median household income about $40,000. Overall poverty rate, nearly a quarter of our residents living in poverty. And so this juxtaposition of the nature and the culture and the soul and the richness and the history of Jackson with these realities, again, they show up for us in our work. As I talk for the next few minutes, I want to kind of underscore three big, I'll say strategies or bodies of work that I want you to constantly or continually to reference and just to explore in your own context as leaders or wherever you sit, leaders in the classroom, leaders across your school, in the district. This first one around culture. How many of you know if you're not sweating and focusing on developing a culture that is rich, that is sticky, that causes people to do what they might not otherwise want to do? How many of you know that if you don't sweat that you're not going to get very far? Does anybody know that? Okay, all right. I was like, okay, I know I'm somewhat smart, but I thought that was a common bit of knowledge. Culture, hugely important. And by that, we're talking about that common language, those core values, those things that exist within that space that are so about who you are and how you behave and how you think, culture. Secondly, I want to really prioritize growth and development. I appreciate Dr. Moody's push and challenge to each of us to intentionally look for some learnings over these next couple of days. Own that, drive that for yourselves and for your team and for your districts. Well, in our school district, we certainly prize and prioritize growth and development. Not just as we do professional development, it's something that we're required to do, expected to do. It's a part of who we are. You come into this district, as you enter into our team, we're striving to help you understand from the gate that as smart as you may be, for all of the things that you've done in your past, when you come here, you are signing up to continue to learn. Because I would bet that there are very few, if at all, examples of a classroom or a school where you have 100% of your babies meeting with great excellence and great success. And that's not to say we're not working hard. Folks are working like their hair is on fire, even me. And the reality is, there are things that we still need to learn in areas where we need to grow. So our prioritizing growth and development and being really clear that everybody deserves feedback and coaching. And lastly, accountability. I'm not talking about the accountability that feels like a stick. I'm talking about the accountability that looks like, what is it that you're setting out to accomplish? Well, what's your plan? How are you going to get there? Okay, well, what do you need? What are the resources? Okay, we can't give you all of that. How about these things? All right. What's the monitoring as you move along? And at some point, well, did you get there? If so, how are you celebrating? That's a part of accountability too, y'all. If so, how are you celebrating? If not, why not? And what will we do to prepare ourselves for the next go, the next at-bat, so that we can get further along towards the goals that we've set? So I want you to really consider those. I'm going to ask everyone to please stand. I know, you're comfortable. Please stand. Please stand with your outdoor voice. With your outdoor voice, I'm going to ask you to read together. Y'all can do this. I have faith in you. This statement, when I say go. Ready? Go. As leaders, we are all signal senders. Thank you. You can have a seat. As leaders, we are all signal senders. As leaders, we are all signal senders. Pause, people. Think about it for a second. As leaders, we are all signal senders. And I'm not talking about the positional leadership. It doesn't matter. As a positional leader, someone with influence, someone with relationships, you are leading in some way or another. As leaders, we are all signal senders. You are sending messages about what's important. You're sending messages about the things that you care about. You're sending messages about how you will invest your time, your resources, your political clout, what you will attach your name to. You're sending messages consistently. And I would bet that we're not always mindful of the signals that we send. You are sending a signal by the mere fact that you're sitting in this room. It's a signal to others in this room. It's a signal to Insight and their partners. It's a signal to the folks back in your districts. You're sending signals, messages about what's important and how you move in the world, how you move in the work. Let's not forget this. I'm going to ask you to keep reflecting on that. We've got a strategic plan that we launched in 2019, staving off the state takeover and really just trying to position ourselves in a way to move forward in the work in a strategic way and thoughtful way. I'm not going to talk through the entire strategic plan. There are a couple of pieces that I do want to highlight, though, and really as the setup for how we lived those aspects of and the strategic plan in general. So, first is our vision statement. We prepare scholars to achieve globally, to contribute locally, and to be fulfilled individually. Look at the three kind of tiers, the three big components there of the plan, or of the vision statement. Globally, locally, individually. Really intentional signals that we're sending about how we want to develop and encourage and support our young people. Go out into the world and do big things. Cure cancer. Solve the famine. Please, somebody, fix the water in Jackson. Do that. Contribute locally. That's home. You might choose to go live as a hermit somewhere in the mountains. That's fine. What's the commitment and the contribution to home? Whatever home might be, wherever home might be. And then, again, whether you're in one of the biggest cities in the world or you happen to live in a rural community somewhere or as a hermit, again, how do you prepare yourself to be fully centered and fulfilled as an individual? And how do we prepare you and support you in getting there? Again, signal sending. One of the words that I didn't highlight, though, is this scholars word. Scholars. Very intentional messaging, very intentional use of language. We didn't choose students or kiddos or kids or young people, youth, scholars. Why? I will tell you. So many people, some of us included, don't believe that children can get there. Don't believe that our children can achieve at the highest levels. Doesn't mean we don't care about them, we don't love them, don't want to see them get there, but if we're honest, not everyone who sits in that classroom or in that principal's office or in that superintendent's office actually believes that our children can achieve at high levels. I don't make the news, I just report it. And if I'm honest, there are times when my behaviors have not fully aligned with this belief that scholars can get there. And so we've got to constantly interrogate that. Signal sending. Use that language to signal that we expect our scholars, our young people, to achieve at the highest academic levels, not just artistic, not just athletic. I said it. Mission statement. I'm running out of time here, so I want to move quickly. Again, very intentional language, knowledge-based, skill sets, dispositions, signaling that it's not enough to know some things. You also have to be able to do some things, and not enough to just know some things and to be able to do some things. How are you thinking about the world? How are you thinking about yourself, your place in the world, your capacity to do really big things in this world? And what's our role as the adults, as the educators in supporting young people in getting there? Intentional language. Living the vision and mission. All of this really boils down to signal sending. Ensuring that these statements are in front of our team, in front of the community. We start, you won't go to a meeting, professional development, a team meeting, you won't go to a meeting in Jackson Public Schools without someone flashing the vision and mission statements. Not because Eric Green said they must. It's because we believe in those statements. Those statements ground our work. That's why we keep them in front of all of us as reminders. 5 strategic commitments, 5 big commitments in our strategic plan. No, we did not call them priorities. I remember the conversation with Michael and with Kate from Insight as we were developing and drafting our strategic plan. We did not choose to frame these as priorities. We framed them as commitments intentionally. Because these are commitments that we're making to our children, to their families, to our communities, to our team members. A strong start. I'm not going to go through all of these. We send a message, not only with this as one of the 5 commitments, but the first of 5. A strong start. You will not continue to focus on intervention in this district. Start right, stay right. There's always one. Thank you. Start right, stay right. A strong start. And so the intention in the plan was that we would ensure that all of our babies get amazing learning experiences from an early age. But as we've lived into this, the secondary folks are like, oh, hold up. What about 9th grade? Because they sometimes lose their minds when they join us. So how about we focus on a strong start in high school with some academies and some intentional programming there. A strong start. I won't go through much more of this, but I have to speak to this joyful learning environment. Through conversations with our communities, what we knew is that safety was hugely important in Jackson. We have got to ensure that our schools are safe. Yes, lots of conversation about safety. Safety. All right, that's great. All right, it's safe. Do I want to come, though? Do I want to be here? At some point, the conversation moved from safety to, okay, what about joy? Do I actually enjoy being here with you? Because maybe I don't. Joyful learning environments, that's what we're working towards. Miss me with all this safety talk. Yes, we've got to do that. I want our babies to want to come to school and to cry when it's time to go home because they had an amazing time learning. Living the commitments. Again, lots of focus on how we communicate. Lots of focus on keeping those commitments in front of us. Grounding our decisions in those commitments. Board agendas, recommendations to the board are tied to commitments in our strategic plan. Intentionally. It's not just something Eric Green or William Merritt, our chief of staff, just dreamed up. Hey, board, can you do this for us? No, it's part of our work. It's grounded there. This transformation of leadership, transformation of the educational systems that you're working in, it's not your work alone. While Zach may be, Mike's son, may be a superhero, we are not superheroes in real life. Don't you take on that positioning and don't allow others to position you there. I know I'm kind of smart, or at least I think I am. Wildly good looking, got it. You're welcome. And I'm not Superman. You will not position me as the all-knowing, all-powerful individual in the school system. That's not who I am. And so we together have to own this work. That's our stakeholders, our team members, co-conspirators. your partners, the elected officials, that loud parents, that loud community member, all the folks who can support the work that you all need to do together. It's your work together, but you also have to be engaged in that work. You cannot dial it in. You cannot coordinate. No, you got to be part of it. You got to lift along with your folks. So I talk a little bit about ours. What about you? What are your priorities? How are they communicated? To whom? By whom? How do you live those priorities? What is the common language in your district that really sets aside the work that you're doing and says that, no, for real. We're not playing school here. You know, sometimes we talk about playing church. 1 foot in, 1 foot out. No. We are serious. Our babies will achieve. They will achieve, and it's on our watch. We will make this happen. I'm getting the sit down sign. All right. So, your reflection on your own work. I want to end here. I asked you to read this statement earlier. How many of you really believe that this is true and this is powerful? From your perch, whatever your role is, as a leader, in leadership opportunities, leadership roles, etc., that you are signal senders. Amen. Well, if this is true, then what's the obvious question that you've got to ask? Come on now, the smart people came to this conference. That's exactly right. If we're all signal senders, then the question is, what signal are you sending? What do people know about what you believe? What do people know about how you show up as a leader, as a co-conspirator, as a support in this work? Thank you so much for your time this morning. I hope that this has encouraged you in some small way. From Jackson to you, let's get it done.